Hello everybody, welcome to Color Grading for Digital Cinematography, the Masterclass. This is week 3, Color Grading Style and Image Control. So thanks again for joining us. It's a great journey we're going on here through the color grading process, color science, and working with the equipment and the tools that we have at the Creator Space. So again, working with their library partners and with the Blackmagic cinema camera, the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, our Blackmagic cinema camera whole kit, and working with the color that's science that's possible with that camera, then taking it back into Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve and being able to do all this fun stuff. And it really is magical what's possible and the post that's possible. And I really urge everyone to take this equipment out from our library partners and be able to then take that footage and then go into Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve. So yeah, it's really exciting to be able to present these materials and go over all the science and the creative possibilities and control that we can do in color science nowadays. So just want to thank all our partners in this project. So we have our main partners. So we have the Canadian Council for the Arts. Without them, this project wouldn't be possible. So really want to thank the Canadian Council for the Arts. And then we have our library partners. So we have our library partners where you can access this equipment. So that's the Blue Mountains Public Library, the Wasaga Beach Public Library, where you can access the cameras, and then the Collingwood Public Library. So all three have the digital arts computer stations. So you can go there and check out the 27-inch iMacs that are all totally built to do video editing, and they have Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve Studio, the software that I'm demonstrating in. And also we want to remind everyone that you can just access this software. It's totally free. Just go to blackmagicdesign.com and you can then access this software, download it. It's totally free. And then you go to the library partners and you can then access the equipment to use and to take out and test. So I will be there's been a little bit of delay in getting the footage off, and we're just trying to find a good way to do that. So what we're going to do is send links to everyone who's registered through our Eventbrite links, and it will just be a Google Drive link. So that's what we're going to do, is just send it that way. That'll be the easiest way. So we'll send the links of the demo footage we have of the gnomes that we've shot from week 1. And again, I'm hoping that you can go and really want to stress and urge and really encourage everyone to go and take out the cameras and do some of this testing, because I think that's really crucial, is testing, trying stuff, applying stuff, and the pre-production I think is really crucial. And just kind of a note of how color grading, color science works. Any kind of, you go and watch your favorite show, your favorite movie, and it doesn't just happen. So sometimes and you'll hear if you read articles and you'll hear cinematographers complaining, oh, we didn't have that much prep time. And sometimes they're talking about, they didn't have 3 months of prep time to work on something that could be 6 months or 10 months of filming. So that prep time is really important. And sometimes it's 1-to-1. A 1 month shoot might have 1 month prep. And myself, I'm always looking for that too, is how, to prep, test, and come up with different ideas or different concepts in what is it that we're trying to tell in the story. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, this could be it could be a commercial, it could be a music video, it could be a live concert, documentary, it could be a narrative, experimental film. Anything that you're doing, you're still telling the story visually somehow. And that could just be showing the audience the event. It could be presenting the audience with an interview with somebody. It could be presenting the audience with a fictional story, with an experimental film. It could be presenting the audience with your interpretation of something in an experimental way. So maybe deciding to be black and white, deciding to be a specific color tone. And we see this in films, and then it can really make an impact on us and go, wow, that had a really unique look and distinct look. And cinematography awards and cinematography that's fantastic or different or pushing boundaries is using the knowledge of color science, color grading, and image manipulation through colors to achieve these things. So I think that's really key, is never stop experimenting and exploring, what's possible with color grading and color science. So today we looked at what to do in camera with color science, with the lookup tables and applying them, not applying them, and so on. Week one, we looked at the camera process. How do we start with the camera? And again, we're deciding to shoot in the film dynamic range, and then going from there. So we have that raw film negative, digital negative. Then we were looking last week at adding the lookup table in Resolve, and we also looked at side by side where you put that preset, that lookup table, which is basically a preset, and then also grading it from scratch. And we called that to LUT or not to LUT. And that's a really important thing, is do you need to use that preset, the lookup table, or do you need to, you can create this from scratch. And we were trying to still create a natural look. So we were really focused on skin tones. What is the natural look? And again, what could be really crucial is understanding what the skin tone should look like, right? So I think we're familiar with that we don't want someone that's, someone to look too red, too green, right? So those extremes of the red, green, and blue. So usually someone's too blue, too green, or too red, because that's our primary colors that our sensors are using in digital cinema. So that's really important to remember, that red, green, blue, and that sensor technology. Now, so natural skin tones are one thing, but then what happens when we want to start to stylize things? And that's the real fun part. So you can still work with, windowing, and we'll look at that today, but, how do we start to create a different kind of palette and a different look and a different technique or concept to it? And this will eventually lead to us next week. We're going to look at then finally creating our own lookup tables and creating our own presets, if you will, both for camera and in Resolve, where we can then apply those and have those. And what do those mean? And I think that's the whole fun part of creating the stills gallery, creating these kind of presets that we can apply to a multitude of footage within our project. And getting that look is crucial. There's nothing that I've worked on that doesn't have something to do with creating that look that will help tell the story. And think of this, I've worked on I've been doing some color grading on some children's series currently, and creating them dark and mysterious and moody wouldn't do justice to what it is. So that kind of a series, for example, it's like, how colorful can it be? How bright can it be? And that's really the goal. But at the same time, maybe there's a sequence within it that's supposed to be spooky, like, I don't know, a Halloween episode. Then we start to make it spooky, dark, and mysterious. And that's intentional. So we're always looking at, how do you color grade to help enhance what the story is? It wouldn't make sense to have the Halloween episode that's, bright, colorful, and so on. Think of anything. So, what is the genre? What's the mood? What's the story? And then you can play with that. You can play with something that may be a story that's supposed to be bright. Think of that kind of Hallmark film, and maybe it should be darker and moodier, and that could help with a specific story or storyline. So always look at that. And now I also really encourage everyone, watch your favorite shows, watch your favorite films, and start to look at what is the color correcting, what is the color grading, the color design, how is the cinematography being potentially manipulated, how is it originated, and what are they doing to it? Does it look very flat? Does it have a lot of contrast? What's the color palette? Does it shift? Is there more green? Is there more blue? Is it warmer, cooler? That whole idea. What does it make you feel like? If sometimes you might think, oh, this is a bit cooler, but really assess that. Is it cooler? Is it maybe on the green side? Maybe there's a bit of warmth in the blue. Maybe it's a combination, right? So we want to start assessing that and analyzing that. So anyway, so let's continue on here. So today we're going to look at color grading style beyond natural colors. So now we're looking at, that style concept is crucial, because we're not just looking at natural skin tones. We're looking now at creating a style, and this is a very cinematic kind of concept, but it applies to anything. Again, if you're doing something experimental, you might want to look at that beyond natural colors. Is you could be looking at black and white. You could be looking at creating an infrared type look. You can be creating a sepia look. You could be looking at something that maybe is predominantly yellow. So that is the whole idea. That brings us to creating a look. and that, is really important. What is the look of the film? And sometimes, you might be the director, writer, cinematographer, you might be the one person filmmaking team, and that's great. You have the total control of creating that look. Experiment with the look. We don't always know exactly what the look is, but this is why that pre-production is important. If you're thinking, I want to shoot a whole film in a sepia tone that's going to be kind of blue tinted, you really need to experiment with that. You need to do tests. You need to see what it looks like. What does it look like outside? What does it look like inside, right? So we're going to talk about that, creating that look. Image control, windows. Power windows are crucial for image control. So sometimes, again, we might not want to necessarily affect the person or the main subject, but we might want to affect the whole image around that person. By creating a window, we can either include or exclude them from what we're using the color grading for. So we might not necessarily put it on everything, but we might put it on parts of the image or the frame. And that's really important as well, that image control and power windows. I'm calling it windows. There's different terms, but yeah, power windows is another thing. So those windows can move with the person. They can be tracked. That's really fun. So we'll look at that today too. And then, is it legal? And that's it's not, you don't need to get a lawyer to figure out if it's legal in this case, but we're talking about, is it legal, scopes and setting up limits to make sure that it's broadcast safe. What does that mean? Great question. We're going to answer that today. So, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A, and I'll also put up my email. You can always reach me with questions, and please, send me information. If you've been working on something and you want to share it with me, please do so as well. I think that's a great process. We're hoping to get into some in-person camera demos coming up in September and October, so stay tuned for that too. So keep checking out the different library programming that's happening, but we will have everything online as well, so you can continue to enjoy our online versions of these workshops as we start to do a hybrid and offer both. So just wanted to give that update as well. Okay, so I'm going to switch over here. Let's get right into what we've been working on so far. So I'm going to put up DaVinci Resolve. Here we go. So this is our sequence last week. So I just made a copy, and I think, again, I always stress that, make your copy, right click, or go to edit, duplicate timeline. So you can see here I have like week 3 and so on. And I'm going to maybe bring in just some more footage, and let's see, what do we have here? We've got 2 shots there. I'm gonna just bring in some. Let's bring in some other footage so I can just play with some concepts here. Green screen. Okay, so here's something too, a little bit of a shot. Okay, cool. So this will just give us some concepts of what we might want to do with some footage. So I'm just gonna drop this into the sequence here. It's a bit of a okay. So just a nice little shot like so. So, and here, I'm gonna just turn off the audio of that. We don't need to hear audio for our color grading. Okay, so now let's look at creating these looks. So we looked at the LUT to not LUT and so on. So what we did here was, we did this this whole color grading work here. We did this kind of work here. So first things first. So what I like to do is I'm going to right click. I'm going to add a node. So these nodes are basically just little. What's the best way to describe them? They're basically effects processing modules that go in a serial or parallel mode. So in serial, it basically says do this, plus add this, plus add this, plus add this. Parallel goes, okay, let's do this, and in parallel, we're gonna do something, and it's gonna come back to the output. So you could be doing, kind of parallel lines. Generally, we're just working in serial in most of our color grading. So that's kind of the, really good way to just start. You can see it's saying, hey, go here, go from here, go from here. And then our blue ones are the effects you know, we can apply specific effects here as well. So you can see it's just going green, green, green output. Here it starts and here it outputs. So it's a graphic way of illustrating kind of, you know, grade by grade. So depending on which one I click on, this is how we basically have additional color grading. So I have my base and then I have this. So from here, we can get different looks. So we'll say, okay, let's make this a lot brighter. And then we can say, you know, let's bring up the gain. So we're going to kind of boost the bottom end of it. Maybe we want like a lot, like really high contrast kind of look. And let's make it like super bright and warm. You know, as if, almost as if we're in like some sort of bright sunshine. Okay, something like that. And then let's look at our gamma a bit. We're going to put those midtones up. And again, I'm pushing it over to the kind of the yellow and the warm. And then maybe we'll bring the darker areas down a bit, and maybe we're gonna tint them a little bit on the blue side. So it takes that down. So the shadows are a little bit blue. So there's a look, right? So that's, you know, and then we can turn these on or off. I'm just going to turn the nodes. There's our clips there. Okay, and there's our timeline there. Okay, so you know, so here we go. We got them right here. So here's this look, and so from here, what I can then do is I can you know, say, hey, do we want to you know, copy this and save this? So we'll go under View, Stills, grab Still. And this is the great thing. So it's going to create this is this preset right here. So then I can apply this on other clips. So then I can say, okay, you know, let's do that look. And look at this, just by putting my mouse over it, I can preview what it looks like. So that's the before and this is the after. Right? So then all I do is I just bring it over here and drag it on, and it automatically adds the node. So it gives me the raw and it gives me the node. And there we go. So then that's how we've created a look. Right? So that's the essence of it. So we're taking the original image, and then here I'm just going to go to this keyframe window, and here you can basically turn these on or off. So I can disable the correctors. So you can see it's corrector 1, corrector 2. Corrector 1 is just the raw, but here we can go back. I can just turn it on or off, so I can quickly toggle and see what's on, what's off. So that's our before and after. So you get a quick idea before and after. Now, what is this doing? Let's put on our scopes here again. Where are our scopes? Boop, boop, boop. Video scopes there. Here, video scopes on. Okay, I'm just going to have this kind of as a separate window here. Let's put it like over here. And so watch what this is doing. So you can see how we've really made it brighter, and it's heavy on the red side. So you can see like over here on this side, it's a lot heavier and there's a lot less blue, right? So we've definitely made it warmer, greener, that kind of look. Okay, so that's that kind of look. Now, so let's turn that off, and we're gonna create another look here. So I'm just gonna go, okay, let's add a node, add serial, right? So we can keep these, you know, can keep adding them. So just the nodes. And now this one's off, right? So you can see it's off right here, on or off, it's off. Now I'm gonna go to here, and let's do something a bit different. Let's say, okay, let's desaturate it. So let's aim to make it like a black and white, and with like a real steep contrast, right? So that's another look. We can say, okay, let's make it black or white, and then we can say, you know, let's kind of make it sepia. So I'm gonna put in a little bit of saturation, and then, you know, we can start to make it that kind of a sepia tone. And, you know, where do we want to push it? So maybe kind of more in this red yellow area. You can see I'm just pushing the gain in towards that red area there. And then, you know, how much gain do you want in that area? And maybe same with the gamma, we can put a little bit of red tint to it. So you can see it's you know, we're really playing just a little bit with that. So that's totally off, right? Black and white. And then we can start to creep in that look of color. And just by adding like 20% of that, we start to get that real kind of sepia look, right? So that's a look, right? And then we can say, let's do that. That's a look we want for the whole film. So again, a much more antique look, experimental look, not necessarily, you know, natural in any way, right? Like we're not seeing what these characters, these gnomes used to look like. Right, so that's kind of the before and after. So let's do this too. So now we'll go up here, view, stills, grab still, and now I have that still. So now I can go to like, you know, another piece like this, and look, this is kind of my normal concert footage, and I can quickly stylize it. So I just drag it over here, and now I've stylized the concert into the sepia look. And look at this, from the skin tones of this singer to, you know, making the sepia tone. Just dragging it over there, and look at that, right? Very, very different look. And you can see what it's done like with the scopes too. Like it's, you know, bringing up all the reds, and we're, you know, reducing all of this other color information. So, you know, I think that's fantastic. It's a great look, but you definitely need to experiment, because what happens to it perhaps when we go here? Turn that off. You know, what happens when it's outside? Right? It probably needs a little bit of adjustment. And, you know, just for the, let's add this, let's add the LUT to this too. So just, we're working with something. Right, so, you know, that, look at what it's doing, right? So this will probably need a little bit of adjustment, because it's a little bit maybe too bright. So, you know, you got to kind of adjust for that outside. But see, this is where I think it's really important to look at, okay, what happens to it inside? What happens to it outside? And this is why you'd want to test, okay, what happens when I film with, you know, that type of look, out, exterior, interior, different lighting conditions. So, you know, here in the studio with that shot, here this shot, this shot, this shot. And it's behaving differently in each shot a bit. And, you know, before I just go, okay, this is going to be the look of the film, if I had done these tests inside, outside, or I had some of that footage to look at, then at least I'm getting that concept of what is it, how is it going to translate, interior, exterior, what's it going to do, how's it going to behave when I do these different looks. Okay, so that's great. So let's turn that one off. Okay, and again, I'm just going to do another, you know, I'm just putting another serial. So I'm just going to do a node, add node, serial node. Okay, so we got that control there. And now let's go with something, you know, a bit kind of different. So I'm going to desaturate again a little bit to, let's say, about a quarter. And go just a little bit of kind of contrast. And we're going to say, let's go for like this kind of action, you know, kind of green, blue type of look. And let's go a lot darker. So I'm going to bring the gamma down a little bit on the midtones. Bring maybe the gain a bit up. And let's go a little bit more kind of blue there. And then overall, let's bring some more contrast up, so we really get some dark. Right, so that's a very, very, again, different look. And, you know, kind of more of an action movie, metallic type look. It could, you know, work for like a thriller, action movie, that kind of thing. So look at what we've done to it. So again, you can see we've squished the top down. It's really crushed here in the blacks. So here's the before and after, right? So very colorful, natural, and look at that. So we're totally, look at what the background starts to get really dark. We don't see the light. The light is not yellow anymore. and the skin tones are definitely kind of this bluish, darkish, right? This is that kind of action movie, Born Identity, that kind of style. So again, I'm going to do view, stills, grab still, and you can see this image gallery quickly gives me, all of this access to, what is this going to look like? So look at what this looks like instead of sepia. This looks pretty neat, right? So we're getting this kind of cinematic action movie. The warmth is gone, but it's really dark. Let's go to this shot. What does this one look like? So look at that. It's like really super contrast, dark. You barely see the people, the highlights, right? So very mysterious looking. And here too, right? Like very unnatural in terms of, flesh tones and things. But it's, that's our action movie type look, right? So we can go with that instead. So we can say, okay, let's do that instead. And there we go. Right? So we got that whole look happening. And that's fantastic, right? So it's, all our nodes are copied over too as the still, because it's saying, okay, well, is this a product of the last four? And that's the great thing. It's just multiplying and duplicating everything over. Right? So you can see all the different looks. What are they going to look like with each shot? And we can quickly look at each one in that manner. Okay, so now let's get to the next part. So that's that look. So how do we create a specific look? Action movie, black and white, sepia, and then our first one was the super warm. When we went to the super warm look, which was this. Right, that super warm look, right? And then we went to the sepia, and then we went to like the action movie. It's a lot of fun to just experiment with this and see what it does and what it means, and how it's going to apply to our looks. Okay, so now let's say let's take this example here, and let's say we don't want necessarily that warmth to go onto the characters. So how can we do this? So what we can do is we can create what's called windows. So I'm just going to put this way over here, the scopes. Okay, and their windows are right here. So I'm going to create a new, oops. Add node, serial node, okay, and I'm going to create a new window. I'm going to go right here, and let's do a circle. And you can see the corresponding node right here. It's just showing the power window of the circle. So in this case, right, so I want that power window there. So see how that, now I can just kind of hone in, zero in on the face, and just kind of manipulate that. So this gives us a little bit of feathering. So I'm just going to squeeze it in, give myself a little bit of feathering, like so. And now I can say, hey, you know what? I don't want this face to be so warm. So I'm going to kind of pull away and, kind of change the look of that. Right, so I'm pulling away from this original, this warmth, and saying, hey, let's get rid of that warmth. And we don't want so much of that warmth in this particular one. Right, so this is how we can start to get rid of, selectively getting rid of that. And desaturate it down a bit, right? So look at that. So we've totally gone back to what we basically had there before. Right, so without that power window, let's turn that off. So here it is. Everything goes yellow. And then I turn the power window on, and look at that. We're excluding his face from getting all yellow, right? So that's a perfect way we can do that. So, okay, great. These are standing still, you know, that's one thing, but what happens when someone's moving? Like in this case. So I might say, okay, let's exclude her from that. So same idea. I'm going to just do add a node, serial node, and we're going to go, we want the beginning of the shot, like right there. And we're going to say, hey, let's put a power window over her face. So again, we're going to just exclude what we're doing. And we're going to say, hey, let's bring the saturation in. Let's get a little bit of warmth. And we're going to also want to kind of feather this out a little bit. And that way we got the whole skin tone going. So look at that again. So instead of you know, now her face, her skin tone is warm, right? So we're excluding it from that harsh, you know, this kind of born identity blue that we've been doing. But she moves. So how do we deal with that? So the next thing I do is I go over here to the tracker and I say, okay, let's track it. So it's this window is initiated, and then I will just hit the play. And it follows as she moves around to maintain that power window. And it's quite amazing. So that way, now when I go back here, we watch this, you'll see that it maintains it. Right? So that's how we were able to maintain skin tone with a power window. Right? And then the same can go with anything. We can say, okay, let's power window something that it's not sepia, or you know, figure out different spots. So we can say, look at this one. We can say add node, and let's do another power window here. And maybe we'll say, okay, let's power window her, the violinist here. And so this ring here, this is like the feathering. So this kind of lets us, you know, fade it out so it's not so apparent where the power window starts or stops. And that's really important, that fading. You can see the feathering right here in the power window. So that feathering is super, super important. So now let's look at this. Okay, so let's bring back, you know, color, and we can, you know, play with what it's doing. So we can change kind of that whole sepia look there. Or we can change it, you know, make her like purple in that spot, right? And that's kind of fun. And same thing, then we just apply the tracking, turn the tracker on, and you hit this play, and it's going to track forward for her movements to keep her magenta. And you can see it kind of gets into his shot there a little bit too. So then what I usually do is just just shrink this down a little bit overall. And this way it can be a pretty interesting effect nonetheless. You know, we make her a little bit magenta while he's in the sepia. So you can see how quickly we can enhance the, you know, the color grading as a color tool in power windows that can help, again, further tell our story, and you know, in order to make it work and to stylize it and work in that manner. Now the other thing too is if we just go to, like, let's say this shot here, and let's just go to, like, you know, how can we apply these power windows kind of in a more you know, I don't want to say, but I guess extreme way, or in a colorizing stylistic way. How can we just do something a little bit more normal if we want? So let's say we don't like this background, and we can start looking at this as well. And I think, you know, this is kind of more of that traditional use of a power window. So let's say, okay, I don't really like what this light's doing. So I'm just going to kind of feather it out, put it right here, and you can see that feather's there. And then I can go to the curve and I can say, okay, let's reduce that brightness, right? So I can make it super bright, I can reduce the brightness and, you know, almost make it muted. So again, this would be the before and after. So look how quickly we can relight with the power window. And I think that's, you know, one of its main uses is literally to help, you know, relight things so you can reduce that brightness of the light in the background. And again, this doesn't move, so I don't have to do any kind of tracking or anything like that, and it can go from there. You know, same thing would go for, let's say this, if, you know, we want to maybe reduce what's happening with the sky there, right? We could always say, okay, let's put a window there, and then we can like reduce it a bit. So same idea, add a node, and we can say, you know, let's put a bit of a power window up here. And we'll say, you know, let's make that a bit darker, like so. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit trickier just to track because it kind of needs to get out of the way, and it does. It's not the worst in what it's achieved here. So here's just, you know, how do we quickly make something a bit darker, and then you can just finesse it from there. But you know, that works quite well. So you know, you can see these real stylistic concepts. But the whole time, what we're doing is we can grab these stills of these looks and create a library of looks. So this is crucial to create, you know, this is what I want everyone to try is take, again, you can take footage from, shoot it with your iPhone, import it into DaVinci Resolve Studio, and then you can create these different looks. So try to create an extreme warm look, try to create a black and white tinted look. It could be sepia, maybe pure black and white, some sort of black and white, and then try to create a desaturated action movie look. And you'll find that as you try to, you know, establish these three types of looks, it's a great learning experience because then you can add these into other projects that you work on. And then it's just a matter of, you know, we don't have to necessarily go that extreme. So we might say, okay, let's not make it that super hot and warm. We're going to have it a little bit less hot. Maybe there's less sepia, and then the action movie, maybe it's a bit brighter or less green and that kind of idea. So that works really well. So those are the three kind of looks. So the last thing I want to look at is, you know, what does it mean to be broadcast safe? And I think, you know, this is important. Is it legal, what we're doing? So you can see right here, we're you know, down to 0, and then we're up to here at 100% and so on. Now, you know, when you take a clip and you say, okay, you know, let's make, you know, for example, I don't know, this setting here, and, you know, we're making it really bright. You can see it's blowing out literally, right? And that could be an experimental look. So let's just look at something like that. What does that mean? So then what we do is, if we go to project settings, we can do under master settings. This is where we look at, okay, how are we monitoring? How are we working on it? And then we can go to our color management. So master settings would just be our project. What is it doing? What's it look like? And then color management, we go right here. So then we can make it broadcast safe. So typically it's -20 to 120. So it's -20 under the 0 as being total black. And we'll say make broadcast safe. So what it's doing is it's ensuring that we're not going above or below these maxes. And we aren't, because you can see it's cutting it off. Now, what's good about that is the broadcast safe will keep it in spec, so that when you go to deliver, you know, you make sure that it's within that range. So look at what this one does. So if I go to 0 to 100, again, you need to always know, you know, what the broadcast specs are that you're delivering to. So, you know, 0 to 100 could be what you might be asked for. And in that case, so you see what it's doing here. It's going to 100, and it's clipping everything off that's over 100. So I'm going to just I'm going to put this scope on the side here so we can see what it does as I turn it off, on and off. So in project settings, I'm going to move these over here. And I'm going to turn that off. And you can see now it's the full range of, minus 20 to 120. And once again, let's go to project settings. If I go 0 to 100, make broadcast safe, and watch what happens when I click save. Boom. So it basically compresses it down. It limits it so that it's within 0 to 100% and nothing above, nothing below. And that ensures that nothing is over what is the legal broadcast limit if it's 0 to 100. Then let's look at another example. So if we go to the minus 10 to 110, we'll save that one. And you can see that starts to go all the way up because it's beyond that range. So it's really hard to go that far out of spec. Typically, again, the minus 20 to 120 is what we're looking at. And, eventually you can definitely, you can see here, like we're way over. You can see all those colors are going way above. Let's just see the minus 20. Right, so it's just squishing it down. It's making sure nothing's technically over. You can see these limiting factors right here. Nothing spiking over that, which is what we want to see. So again, that's a really important thing. So is it legal? Is it within range? And I think it's a great tool that you can just put right in here. Project settings, color management, and then turn it on. Put your broadcast safe on. Then whatever you're doing, however extreme it is, that it's still going to be within the limits. The only thing that, again, if you're delivering to a broadcaster, just find out what their broadcast safe limits are. In North America, we work at the minus 20 to 120. It will be a typical setting. And then sometimes depending on the nature of it, you might be having to work from 0 to 100 as a deliverable standard as well. So yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to cover. And again, so what we're going to do next week then is we're going to look at how do we make these lookup tables, and then how can we apply it to Resolve, how can we apply it to the camera as well, and be able to work in that way. So how do you create a look, you establish a look, we've tested the look, so you can just shoot at a certain way. But wouldn't it be great to see what does the sepia look like while I'm on set? So that's what we're going to look at, is how do we take what we're prototyping here, put it onto the camera, but also have it as a lookup table, as a preset that we can then share. So how do we create our own lookup table? And that's going to be our finale, if you will. So I want everyone to tune in to that for next week. So I'm just going to put up my email here for this workshop and masterclass. So you can always just send me an email, questions, tech questions, camera questions, equipment questions for the creator space, color grading, hopefully more specifically to the color grading masterclass, but feel free if you have questions about the camera, getting it from the libraries and so on. tom@tbmcs.ca. I also encourage everyone to do the proficiency test, and that gives you access. So if you have a library card, you're a member of the Blue Mountains Public Library, take the proficiency test, then you can access the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K kit. You can also access things like a tripod and lights without any proficiency test, so all that kind of equipment's available. And the same goes with if you're a member of the Wasaga Beach Public Library, you can also take the proficiency test to access the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. And then you can go and do your own tests and get your own footage and then try it out in Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve. So again, thanks for joining us. And again, next week we will do that lookup table, creating our styles here and folding it into presets that we can then use in the camera in Resolve, and then have a specified preset that we've used on our research and development in color science and grading to make it work for our project and our testing. So again, want to thank all our project partners. We have the Canada Council for the Arts and our library partners, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you next week, week 4. And remember, you can rewatch these right here from this link. You can rewatch these later. If you've missed weeks 1 and 2, please feel free to review those as well. And then we'll be posting everything eventually on our YouTube channel. So be sure to check it out. you can access it through our website, tbmcs.ca. Until next week, have a great rest of the day and see you guys soon. Take care.